Beatles' final ever live US concert could hardly have been held at a more inauspicious venue. Candlestick Park, a ballpark nestled in the San Francisco Bay Area, could often be damp, windy and foggy, and the night of 9th of August 1966 was no exception.
Thank you very much, everybody. Wonderful. Frisco, butchered. We'd like to say that it's been wonderful being here in this wonderful sea air. Sorry about the weather.
The two-speaker PA system was crude and ineffective. The makeshift stage was located behind second base on the field, rising 5 feet high and surrounded by a 6-foot-high wire fence. And so the biggest band in the world by some distance played their last ever US gig like caged animals in front of 25,000 screaming fans. The day started with the Beatles' charter jet touching down at San Francisco International Airport at 5:30. Transport taking the Fab Four to Candlestick Park wrongly tried to enter a locked gate, leaving the Beatles surrounded by clamouring fans. The spooked driver resorted to a magical mystery tour, driving around a busy housing estate before eventually finding a way in. Outside the stadium, pickets paraded, protesting John Lennon's recent and often misquoted remark that the Beatles were more popular than Jesus Christ. Once inside the ballpark, the Beatles tucked into a pre-show meal of roast beef, Yorkshire pudding and all the trimmings. To distract themselves from the usual chaos outside, they made sketches on the white linen tablecloth, watched over by a visiting Joan Baez. John drew an elaborate yellow sun on the tablecloth, whilst Paul and George drew what's best described as psychedelic drawings. Ringo simply drew a small face. The Beatles took to the stage at 9:27 p.m. and performed the same 11 songs they had done on the 17 other performances of the tour. The set list shunned newer material, which was harder to recreate live, relying instead on older staples such as rock and roll music, Babies in Black and I Wanna Be Your Man. The group sort of knew it was to be their final concert. Recognising its significance, John and Paul each took a camera onto the stage, taking pictures of the crowd, the rest of the group and themselves at arm's length. Ever ahead of trends, one could say that they took some of the earliest celebrity selfies. Whilst John, George and Ringo had had enough of the insanity of touring and Beatlemania, Paul relished these live appearances and still does to this day, well into his 80s. He was perhaps the only dissenting voice to carry on touring that night. This was evident in his ad-libbed introduction to Paperback Writer.
We'd like to carry on, I think. Not really sure yet. I'd like to carry on, certainly. Definitely. Well, should we just watch this for a bit? Just watch it. The next song is called Paperback Writer. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Possibly sensing that this was the end of the touring road for the Beatles, Paul asked their press officer Tony Barrow to make a recording of the concert on audio cassette using a handheld recorder. The cassette lasted just 30 minutes on each side, and as Barrow didn't flip it during the show, their final song, Long Tall Sally, was, in retrospect rather symbolically, cut short.
And we'd like to ask you to join in and clap, sing, talk. Thanks. Go on. Do anything anyway, the song is good enough. I'm gonna take me final time. I tell you got the nothing for it, got a lot of fun, oh baby. Yeah, baby.
This was performed more frantically than usual and was a fitting song to end their touring years. Long Tall Sally had been the very first song they performed at their legendary Liverland Town Hall gig in December 1960. often cited as a touch paper that ignited the Beatles' success in the UK. Just before leaving the stage, John teasingly played the opening bars of In My Life before running off to join the rest of the group backstage. The Beatles were then packed off unceremoniously into a Loomis armoured van. They flew from San Francisco to LA, arriving at 12:50 a.m. During the flight, George Harrison was heard to exclaim, "That's it then, I'm not a Beatle anymore." Without an official announcement, the Beatles' touring years had come to an abrupt end, but the best was yet to come as they embarked on their studio years.